this is Whitney, and welcome back to an episode of Spastic Chatter. If you're new here, Spastic Chatter is a platform meant to feature those in the Cerebral Palsy community, and I get together with individuals with CP, like myself, to have an uncensored chat, if you will, about what it's like living with this type of disability. And for this week, I have James, and he has an organization called HandiCapable Fitness. And I was looking on it before we started recording this episode, and it looks awesome. It's all about fitness and adaptive sports. But before we get on to the conversation, I will let James introduce himself. So take it away, James.
Well, Whitney, first and foremost, I want to thank you and your audience for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. My name is James Norris. I'm the executive director of HandiCapable Fitness. We're an organization that helps people with physical disabilities get up, get active, and get moving. But I'm sure we will elaborate on that coming up in the episode, so I will pass it back to you. But thank you again for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. So I'm curious. I'm gonna take it to the beginning. What's kind of like your origin story? Like how did your organization come about?
Well, it's kind of a long journey, but I'll put it to you in a nutshell. So I got into fitness probably about 7-8 years ago, just for my own health and wellness. Ended up losing about 65 pounds, and everything that I was doing in the gym was new to me. So I was just taking my phone and recording videos just to show my friends and family, because, as I said, I hadn't been doing this stuff before. And a trainer, the trainer I was working with at the time, said, "You know what, if you're doing this," he goes, "you might want to start a public page, and because you never know who you could inspire." So that's how HandiCapable Fitness, the social media platforms, came to be. And then, as we were all sitting around bored out of our minds during the pandemic, I said to myself, "You know what? Like, we've gained a little bit of steam through the social media platform. Let's take it to the next level, and let's turn this thing into a nonprofit." So that's how the nonprofit side came to be.
That's awesome. And there's so much to that we can unpack there when it comes to fitness and a physical disability. For instance, if I didn't start my fitness. I started my fitness journey later on in life. But if I didn't work out every day, I wouldn't be able to do everything that I do. I wouldn't be able to be independent. My transfers would be seriously lacking. Fitness can do so much for you, not only physically but mentally as well. Do you kind of agree with that?
110%. I tell people all the time, when I started this whole journey, it was to lose weight and to better myself, physically, and to lose some weight. Now, as much as I want the physical benefits to continue, and it has made my everyday day-to-day activities so much easier, but now I find it to be almost more mentally beneficial than anything else. If I don't work out, my mind is like, "You missed something. What's going on?"
Yeah.
So it's more mental now than it is physical, but the physical benefits have definitely helped. Don't get me wrong.
I get working out just gets your endorphins going, and I don't get me wrong. I have those times where I get in I guess you could call it a depression episode where I don't want to work out, and then recently I went a month or two without working out, and I seriously could not get out of bed physically. I was it took so much out of me just to push myself up out of bed, and my partner, who's also disabled, was was like, when you need to start working out so that you don't have to have help getting out of bed. And then the whole mental aspect, when I started working out and standing again, the depression kind of like went away. No, it didn't go away, but it helped with it, like
subsided a little bit.
Yeah, but I've kind of, there's like a catch-22, at least for me and my CP. I'm curious if you experience this, and it's going to be kind of a weird thing, but the way that I do movements and stuff is that I gain a lot of muscle in one specific area, and it doesn't, I bulk up really fast, and that can impact my day to day. I keep thinking all about surgeries, but if I bulk up too much, then I put on a lot of weight. So it's kind of like I have to make sure that I'm balanced. Have you experienced any of that?
You know what? It is a balancing act. I myself, I've kind of gone the other way to where I was heavier set and I get around on my knees. So all that impact on my knees obviously wasn't very good. Now it's just kind of maintaining it. But yes, I have to really be careful either way, what it is that I do, because, at the end of the day, whether it's muscle or whether it's fat, being heavy is not good for my knee joints and that sort of thing. So yes, I do have to kind of rein it in a little bit and make sure that everything's kind of on point.
And I like how Spastic Chatter shows how diverse cerebral palsy is. I have spastic quadriplegia, so I can't get around on my knees and stuff. And you were talking about how you can just get around on your knees and things like that. So I love how we have CP, so that's a commonality, but it's also different. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's why I love what you do. Just to piggyback off of what you said, because as you said, there's a general term of cerebral palsy, but under that same umbrella, there's so many different types, and it affects people in so many different ways. So I love what you do by bringing a light to that.
Awesome. Well, that just made me think that I've actually been my doctor, and this gets on my nerves. He actually called me a super, I forgot how he worded it, but he was like, when you hear a super quad, because you shouldn't be able to do what you do on your severity of cerebral palsy. And I'm just like, you're a doctor, and you're telling me this, do you ever get people that doubt your capabilities or anything like that?
Oh yeah. Let's face it. I use a power chair to get around most of the time, and they say that if somebody makes their first impression of you based off of the first 3 seconds when they see you. Well, what do you see in the first 3 seconds? You see my wheelchair, and it's like, once they see me in the gym and they see me doing the things that I do, and then jujitsu, they're like, oh my gosh, that's pretty incredible. How do you do that? And I understand what it is that they're saying, because, I think, and I learned this during the pandemic, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna run into people that are jerks anywhere you go. But 9 times out of 10, I find that not to be the case. It's people are just unaware and they just don't know how to ask the questions. So they phrase things differently or not really the correct way. So it's like when somebody says something that I kind of see as maybe a little bit judgmental or off key, so to speak, I kind of internalize it and try to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, listen, this didn't offend me per se, but next time you might want to word it this way because it could offend somebody else. And the one thing I'll say about your particular situation with your doctor, it really stinks that your doctor would say something like that, but just because somebody's gone to school and read in medical books and studied doesn't necessarily mean that they know how to communicate with people and have that proper bedside manner. So I don't want you to let that get you down. And being that you're almost 100 episodes into this thing, it shows that you don't do that and you're unstoppable. So I applaud you.
Well, thank you. But I kind of do the same thing like you do, but I add, like, I'm very sarcastic. My sarcasm gets me in trouble. So I added, I'm not gonna lie, I add like a sarcastic twist to everything. So that gets me in trouble. But going back to what you were kind of saying, it got me thinking that you were talking about how you use a power chair, so like people might judge you on that. And here's like a funny story about me that I think that you might be able to relate to. I didn't start using a power chair full time until my 20s, and like I would sit in a manual chair because I looked more able-bodied. But when I started moving around, I could literally only go in circles because I have one functioning hand and arm, and like this one is like not functioning. So I just thought it was I just think that's funny. And now looking back at it, like I tend to laugh at myself. So I'm curious about your your nonprofit. I saw on there that people can apply for grants. Do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, sure. So basically what our mission is to help people with physical disabilities get up, get active, get moving, however it is that they, define that. So people can go on and apply for grants for pretty much anything from gym memberships to fitness equipment to travel grants if they're going to, let's say, a Spartan race or something else that they're going to participate in and they need assistance getting there. That's kind of what we do. We want to help people live the most fit and active lifestyle that they're capable of doing and really getting rid of the financial burden or lessening the financial burden that it might take to do that. So that's why we have the grants. That's why we give away the equipment, because we want people to live their best life.
Awesome. What is your, since we're talking about health and fitness and like sports and things, what is your favorite sport to play and like what
oh man, that's
jiu-jitsu or something?
Yeah, that's a tough one because they all have a special place in my heart. But I really like to do jiu-jitsu a lot. It's something physical, but I love the gym in itself. Anything that's going to kind of get me moving and push me both mentally and physically, I'm down for. And jiu-jitsu really does that, because especially with cerebral palsy, the person that I learned under, Travis Stevens, always talks about, okay, well, we want you to accomplish said movement or said activity, but you only have a certain number of chess pieces to play with. So he has to come up with a way for me to, or to get me to try to accomplish the same move or the same outcome as somebody else with a very limited, game, so to speak, if that makes any sense. And I like it because it's challenging my mind, because as you know, sometimes we can know something, we can know how to, I'm just using a crazy example, lift a weight or do a sit up, so to speak. But sometimes our bodies have a mind of their own, and they just don't do it. So our brain knows what to do, but getting the message from our brain to our body is sometimes challenging. So that's why jujitsu is great, because it's not only the physical thing, but it's also the mental thing combined with them both, and you try to really get that outcome. So that's why I love jujitsu.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm just taking your story, but I'm curious. You mentioned that you like going to the gym, and I know that going to the gym can be kind of daunting for people with physical disabilities. Have you faced any like accessibility issues? Like how do you go about like navigating that? God.
You know what? Yes, I have, and it was very kind of intimidating when I first started. And I kind of had the same butterflies as most, whether you're able-bodied or handy-capable. Anytime somebody steps into a place like the gym, it's going to be intimidating. But what I tried to realize is that, hey, 9 times out of 10, these people aren't necessarily looking at me like I think they are. And at the end of the day, we're all in here for the same reason. The approach might be different, but the reason is that we're all trying to better ourselves. So, if I can't reach a piece of equipment, or if it's too high or I need it adjusted, I go up and say, hey, I see that you're over here. After this set, would you mind helping me with this? And for the most part, people are very accommodating, and that's how I've met some of my best friends. Just kind of, being there in the gym, working out next to somebody and needing help, and forcing me to be like, okay, well, if you want to use this piece of equipment, you're gonna have to ask for help. And it opened up dialogue to now where we're not only friends, but it's also given me the opportunity to help educate them, and show that whether you have cerebral palsy, spina bifida, or you're able-bodied or whatever, we're all the same and we all want the same thing. So my goal and my hope is that somebody that interacts with me, it kind of takes that fear down and breaks that ice. So the next time they see somebody that either uses a wheelchair or a cane or something that makes them different, they remember the conversation that they've had with me, and they're more apt to go up to that person and be like, hey, it's cool that you're in here. What's your name? What's going on? What's your story? And I think that is, and to feed into your question, a positive thing I want to say is I recently joined a new gym about a year and a half ago. And I was sitting there waiting for my ride to come home, and I was on my phone just like we all are. And I was doing something. I was answering an email, and this woman came up to me and she goes, hey, what's your story? And I thought that was really cool. And it's something that stuck with me. So as much as, and now we're really good friends. So as much as there's that fear, it can also push you out of your comfort zone so that you're forced to do something that you typically wouldn't do. And I would encourage people to try to change their perspective when it comes to that type of thing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I do the same thing that you were talking about in the gym. And I do this in like everyday life. If I have a if I have like an issue, like when I'm out doing something and I'm by myself, I don't have a problem being like I say I call it like a hey you, like I need help. Can you help me? Like, hey mister, I need help. Like, can you? And like that's how I met. That's how I have met some of my best friends. Like you said, like just like not being afraid to ask for help when you need it, and like just start conversations with people so that can transcend outside of the gym as well. So that's really cool.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah. So at the end of all of my interviews, James, I ask my guests if they have any advice for those watching that might be in the same season of life, or like anybody that has like health and fitness or sports related or like sports related. Do you have any advice for those watching?
Are you talking about people that maybe want to try something, but they're a little nervous to do so?
Sure.
Um, yeah, just and I kind of alluded to this in the previous question. Um, just get out there and try it. I know it can be scary, but sometimes the scariest things lead to the biggest blessings. And even if you quote unquote fail at something, failure failure only happens when you give up on it. And not every day in the gym is going to be perfect. Not every day in life is going to be perfect. But as long as you keep trying, you're going to figure out ways. You're going to learn things about yourself, and you're going to meet some amazing people along the way. But it's up to you to kind of take that first step and be proud of who you are. Because what I've realized is that people react to the energy that you put off. So if you're, really nervous and scared, and I'm not saying not to feel those things, and you're very much to yourself, people aren't going to come up to you because they feel your energy and they're like, oh, James is, over there on his phone and not really wanting to talk to anybody. So I don't want to go up and talk to him. But if you go up and you engage people in a conversation and say like, hey, how's it going? What are you working out today? Or how was your workout? Then that gets people to open up, and you can really learn some amazing things. So get out there, be proud of who you are, because we all have a story, we all have a purpose on this earth. Embrace it, and you never know whose life you're changing just by being who you are.
Awesome. And like everything you were just saying kind of reminds me of the mantra that I live by. It's perseverance, the greater the obstacle, the more glory in overcoming it. So like that kind of like feeds into this conversation. So where can people follow you on social media, James?
Okay, so the easiest way to find any social media links is handicapablefitness.com, HandiCapable fitness fitness.com. All the social media links that are there, information about our nonprofit, our grant application, everything's right there for you.
Cool. And I will put that in the description so people can check you out. And thank you for being on an episode of Spastic Chatter. I really enjoyed talking with you, James. And if you're watching this and you want to be on an episode, feel free to reach out wherever you are viewing or listening to this. And I would love to have you. And check back periodically for a episode of Spastic Chatter. Thanks. Bye.
My friend.